Revealed, my son and daughter-in-law sold my late husband's watch, discovering an amazing secret. Sarah clutched the worn kitchen counter, tears stinging her eyes as reality crashed over her like a tidal wave. This can't be happening, she thought. How could they? The pocket watch, a piece of her heart and a symbol of her late husband's bravery, had been sold. The mere thought felt like a betrayal, a cold slap that echoed in the quiet of their home. Every tick of that watch was a reminder of his gentle spirit, the way he dedicated his life to serving others, especially those in need. It had been his connection to their shared past, a legacy for their son, Jake, a visual reminder of love wrapped in compassion. Now, it was gone. The thought tightened her chest, squeezing out breath as anger mixed with heartache swirled inside her. Jake and Emily were likely just trying to make ends meet. Bills had piled up since she'd lost her husband, but selling that watch felt like a stab to her soul. Shouldn't they have known? Shouldn't they feel the weight of what they'd done? She could hear the whispers from neighbors, the murmurs of disbelief. Everyone in their tight-knit town knew Hank, her husband the Vietnam veteran with a heart as grand as the Midwest skies. What will they think of us? She grappled as she felt a shiver of loneliness wash over her. The afternoon gloom thickened when Jake bounded in with an eagerness only a teenager could muster. Mom. You won't believe the deal I got us. We're gonna get through this. His voice was innocent, brightening the room until it landed heavy as lead in her gut, a painful misunderstanding of what he was about to reveal. She needed to gather her thoughts, brace for impact. After a few moments of silence, she took a deep breath, steeling herself. Jake, about that watch. Her voice trembled as she let the words slip from her lips. At the mention, she saw his smile fade, and guilt flicker across his face. The awkward silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. A mix of confusion and regret settled like a dense fog. In that moment, the door swung open, revealing Emily, carrying the unmistakable weight of their financial struggles. Scott called. He said he'll give us a bit more than we thought if we drop everything off today. Just then, the world felt like it was crashing down. It wasn't about the money, it was about everything that little watch stood for. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The room felt charged, electric with unsaid words and buried feelings. Sarah's heart ached. She had to make them see the truth behind the watch's value. It was his, she said, the quiet tremor in her voice barely audible. A part of him. Not just a thing to be sold. Joy and sorrow collided in her heart, raw emotions crashing around them. Jake's brow furrowed, confusion deepening as he struggled to piece together what she was saying. I didn't think he began, but the pain in her voice cut him off. As she prepared to dive deeper into the emotional storm, the unease in the air thickened. She had to reveal the hidden narrative of bravery that had unfolded around that pocket watch, or risk losing her family and her late husband's honor in one fell swoop. Would she manage to protect his legacy or find their love lost in the ashes of misunderstanding? Jake, you have to understand, Sarah pressed on, her voice rising slightly as she felt the quicksand of doubt trying to pull her under. That watch carries so much more than value. It's a symbol of what your father gave his life, his heart. When he came home, he wore that watch as a reminder of everything he fought for. Everything he stood for. Jake's eyes widened, absorbing her words piece by piece. Emily's expression was suddenly serious, the weight of the room palpable. But Mom, Jake began again, his voice wavering. We didn't know. We were just trying to find a way to stay afloat, to help. A note of desperation crept in, he was grasping for understanding, for forgiveness. I know you were, she replied, softening her tone, aware of their struggles. But selling that watch felt like ripping away a part of our family history. It meant more than money could ever buy. Emily stepped forward, her hands clasped nervously. We didn't think it would hurt you like this. Jake only thought of it as a way to help with the bills. We should have talked to you first. A kaleidoscope of emotions swirled between them now, the pain of loss, the shadows of financial struggles, and the crux of family bonds laid bare. But why didn't you? Sarah felt herself pressing against a wall, the hurt bubbling inside her. You should have asked me, consulted me. That watch, it was a promise between us. The stories it held, she felt the tears escape before she could stop them, how the memories rushed in Hank's warm laughs, his arms around her, sharing their dreams while the watch ticked steadily in time. Now, it felt like a cruel reminder that dreams could be ripped away. Jake shifted on his feet, guilt etched on his boyish face. Mom, what if we find it again? Can we? The hope in his voice pierced through Sarah's heart, and she could barely recognize her son, that little boy who looked to her for answers, now fighting to reclaim something lost. It's not that simple, Jake, she said, shaking her head. It might be gone forever. You don't just sell a part of someone else's life and expect to find it again. But as she spoke, something shifted within her. Perhaps reclaiming the watch wasn't just about the physical object anymore, but about mending what felt broken between them. Then let us look, Emily chimed in, her voice laced with determination. We can retrace our steps. Maybe ask around at the shop or online. There has to be a way. The room hung in a fragile silence, hope starting to bloom amidst the uncertainty. Sarah felt herself exhale, a quiet agreement weaving through their hearts. This could become a journey of rediscovery, a way to keep Hank's memory alive. Their eyes met, a silent pledge made to search not only for the watch but to reconnect as a family. Okay, Sarah finally said, a subtle shift in her demeanor. We'll look for it together. As they began making plans, her mind wandered. What if they did find it? Would it restore what was lost? Would it bring her husband back home somehow? As Jake grabbed his coat and Emily reached for her phone, Sarah's gut twisted with uncertainty. They were stepping into uncharted territory, fraught with possibility. But at that moment, with hope flickering like a candle's weak flame, she knew they were not just searching for a watch. They were seeking a way to heal. Mom, Jake's voice brought her back to the moment. Can we start now? The air felt taut, filled with the promise of a new beginning and buried questions. What secrets might they uncover as they hunted for the past, and would there be more to discover than just a watch? Jake moved with purpose, his excitement spilling over as he dashed toward the door, his coat flapping like the wings of a bird eager to soar. Let us go, Mom. We won't stop till we find it. His youthful spirit ignited something deep within Sarah, a glimmer of hope mixed with the weight of nostalgia. Wait. Sarah called, pushing herself up from the couch. A jolt of urgency surged through her as she grabbed her own jacket. The chill of the evening air nipped at her skin, but it was nothing compared to the cold ache in her heart that clung on. As they walked to the car, Emily chatted about their plan to start at the pawn shop where the watch had been sold. I'll check online too, see if it pops up anywhere, she added, scrolling through her phone. The anticipation of the chase was almost intoxicating, but it was often laced with the sting of loss. They drove through the quiet streets, the shadows lengthening around them. Sarah gazed out the window, lost in distant memories of Hank. Each street was a ghost of a laughter or a shared moment, picnics in the park, stargazing on the roof, and whispering dreams by a crackling fire. Would they find the watch in time to keep those memories alive? Arriving at the pawn shop, Sarah felt a mix of trepidation and hope. The bell above the door jingled as they entered, announcing their arrival. The dim light made the place feel even more intimate yet disheartening. Old trinkets and dusty baubles lined the shelves like forgotten echoes. Here we go, Jake whispered, scanning the room with fervor. Each item seemed to carry its own story, but none whispered Hank's name. can I help you? A gruff voice pulled them out of their thoughts. The store owner, a burly man with tired eyes, approached them. We're looking for a watch, Emily explained. It belonged to my husband. A vintage piece, very sentimental. The man raised an eyebrow, a flicker of recognition crossing his face. What kind of watch? Sarah swallowed hard, her heart racing. It was silver, with a blue face. It had his initials engraved on the back, HJC. I remember that one, he said slowly, his voice steadying but tinged with regret. I had it for a bit, but sold it about a month ago. Hope crashed down hard on Sarah like a wave rushing in. To whom? She managed to ask, her voice just above a whisper. The shop owner hesitated. I can look through the records, but he sighed heavily, as if bracing for the impact of what he might reveal next. Please, Jake urged, stepping closer to the counter. All right, give me a moment. He shuffled off to the back room. Silence settled in like a thick blanket, the air felt heavy with unspoken fears. What if we lose it? Emily's voice trembled. The reality sunk in, a pit opening in her stomach. Jake shook his head, rallying back the confidence of the earlier moments. Remember, we are in this together. No matter what. It was a promise that reverberated through them, holding the fragile bonds just enough to prevent breaking. The shop owner returned, a small ledger in hand. I have the details, he started, but then his gaze shifted to a figure just outside the window, his expression changing like a switch had flipped. Hang on, I think I know where it could be, he murmured, his voice dropping as if he were sharing a confidential secret. What do you mean? Sarah asked, her heart racing. He pointed toward the door, where a familiar silhouette loomed. The very last person she expected to see. A hand on her heart, Sarah felt the world tilt. What had this person come to reveal? And just like that, a new thread of their journey began to unravel, intertwined with memories and choices that would pull them deeper into the mystery of not just a watch, but family ties that lay hidden beneath layers of hurt and hope. A rush of emotions tore through Sarah as her eyes landed on the figure outside. It was Alan, Hank's brother. The once familiar face now felt like a ghost from the past. His presence stirred memories Sarah had buried deep, the laughter they shared at gatherings, the way he mourned alongside her when Hank passed. What's he doing here? Emily whispered, clearly startled. Let us find out, Sarah replied, though her heart thudded painfully in her chest. Alan stepped inside, his eyes scanning the shop until they locked onto Sarah's. His expression shifted from surprise to a tentative smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. Sarah, he said softly, his voice barely a whisper. Alan. She struggled to find the right words, emotions locking her throat as a wave of memories surged. Jake, sensing the tension, moved closer to Emily, an innocent buffer. Are you here to help? He asked, his tone hopeful. Alan hesitated and then nodded slowly. I've been looking for the watch too. I didn't know you all were on the same hunt. The shop owner stepped back, sensing the intensity of the moment. I'll give you some space, he murmured before retreating. Confusion filled Sarah's mind. How do you know about the watch? She asked. Alan looked down, his hands fidgeting. After Hank passed, I came across some things that made me realize there's more to this watch than just being a piece of jewelry. What do you mean? Emily prodded, shifting closer to Alan. It was more than just a timepiece. It held memories, secrets. Hank told me once it was a family heirloom, imbued with stories that mattered. Alan paused, taking a deep breath as if to steady himself. He thought it would stay in the family. But after he passed, I found out some things weren't as they seemed. Sarah's heart raced. What things? What are you talking about? There are stories connected to that watch, Sarah, Alan said, his voice stronger now. And secrets that Hank never shared. I need to show you. All of you. Jake's eyes widened, his curiosity piqued. Secrets? What kind of secrets? Alan looked at Jake, then back at Sarah. The kind that could change how you see Hank and even what he wanted for you all after he was gone. Silence hung thick in the air, tangled with unspoken questions. The air shifted, charged with possibilities. Where is it? Sarah asked, urgency creeping back in. Do you know where it might be now? Alan nodded slowly, his eyes steadying. I think I know the person who bought it. But we have to hurry, he might not have it much longer. The weight of her heart felt heavy with both dread and hope, uncertain of what they'd uncover next. Then let us go, we don't have much time, Emily urged. As they stepped outside, the chill in the air seemed to spark a fire of determination in Sarah. This wasn't just about finding a watch anymore, it was about unraveling the fabric of her past, piecing together the threads that had been pulled apart. But Alan's words lingered in her mind, a looming promise of revelations deeper than she'd expected. What secrets could a watch hold, and would they bring closure or more questions? As they piled into the car, anticipation electrified the air. The road ahead was murky with uncertainty, yet they were united in purpose. All they could do was push forward, desperate to uncover the truth that lay in the shadows, waiting to be revealed. The engine roared to life, pulling them into the night. But as they turned the corner, a flicker of doubt danced in the back of Sarah's mind. What if this journey led them to things best left buried? What truths would surface as they chased the echoes of a life once lived? The car sped down the darkened streets, headlights cutting through the night. Sarah's thoughts swirled, battling each other like a storm. The anticipation of finding the watch sat heavy in her chest, but unease tugged at her heartstrings. Where are we going exactly? Emily broke the thick silence, glancing at Alan in the front seat. Her voice was steady, yet the underlying tension was unmistakable. There's a collector, I met him a while back. He mentioned acquiring something rare, but I wasn't sure what. I think it was the watch, Alan replied, the determination evident in his tone. His place is on the edge of town. Jake twisted in his seat, excitement dancing in his eyes. Could it really be? The watch? And these secrets, what kind of secrets could they be? Sarah could scarcely answer. How much did she really want to discover? Behind the thrill of uncovering the watch lay the risk of facing truths that might cut deeper than memories they'd shared. As they approached a dimly lit house, the reality of their quest sank in. The old, weathered building stood alone, shrouded in shadows. Sarah felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Do you think this collector would he even sell it back to us? Alan's voice was calm, finding reassurance within. He's a fair guy. If he has it, and if we explain its significance, he'll understand. With uncertain steps, they exited the car, the chill biting through their coats as they crossed the gravel driveway. It felt surreal, like a scene plucked from an old mystery film. The hum of crickets filled the air, settling deep in the quiet night. Alan led the way to the porch, his shoulders squared with purpose. He rapped gently on the door, and the sound echoed loudly in the stillness. Sarah's heart drummed a thunderous rhythm. Would they really find answers here? The door creaked open, revealing a man with unkempt hair and thick glasses. What brings you here at this hour? He asked, his brow furrowing. We're looking for a watch, a family heirloom. Alan spoke, his gaze steady. It belonged to my brother, Hank. The collector's expression shifted, curiosity piqued. Oh. You mean the Elgin watch? Sarah's breath caught in her throat. You have it? Maybe, the collector said, leaning against the doorframe. But it's not just any watch. The stories it carries? They're important. Wait. You know more? Emily asked, stepping closer, her voice louder than she intended. The collector nodded slowly, but a shadow washed over his face. There are things tied to that watch, stories woven into its very fabric. If you want to hear them, it'll change how you view your past and Hank. What kind of stories? Alan asked, visibly anxious but with excitement bubbling beneath the surface. Before he could answer, a crash echoed from inside the house, and instinct kicked in. The collector's eyes widened, and he motioned for them to come in. Quick! You need to see this. With uncertainty transforming to urgency, they stepped inside. Sarah's heart raced for a different reason now. That sound felt ominous, as though secrets were about to burst into view. As the door closed behind them, the whispers of the past loomed larger. What awaited them inside? What revelations lay hidden behind that sudden chaos? Only one way to find out. Sarah felt a fierce determination ignite her spirit. And deep down, she wondered if she was truly ready for the truth. Inside, the dim light flickered anxiously, casting shadows that danced along the walls. The sudden intrusion of noise faded, and the atmosphere thickened with unspoken words. Sarah glanced at Alan, his eyes narrowed in apprehension. Emily shifted, her fingers fidgeting as they followed the collector deeper into the house. What's going on? Jake whispered, tension winding through his words. Noticing the collected items scattered around a broken figurine, a toppled chair, Sarah's heart sank. There was something heavy in the air, secrets lurking just out of sight. As they stepped into the cluttered living room, the collector brushed past a tall bookshelf, and Sarah caught a glimpse of old photographs peeking out. There was something in those images that called to her, something familiar and frightening. I need you to understand, the collector said, gesturing for them to follow him further in. This watch isn't just an heirloom. It's a connection to your past, tied to decisions that changed everything. A shiver ran down Sarah's spine. What decisions? What secrets had Hank hidden? She tried to ground herself, focusing on the now, yet a disturbance brewed within her. Jake's curiosity escalated. Like what? What happened with it? The collector ran a hand through his hair. It's better if you see for yourselves. He led them to a small study, scattered with papers. There, among receipts and papers yellowed by time, lay an old wooden box. Sarah felt an irresistible pull toward it, a connection that seemed cosmic in its hugeness. The collector knelt by the box, opening the lid carefully, revealing the Elgin watch nestled in velvet. It shimmered, almost alive with stories begging to be told. But as the collector lifted it out, his face paled. There's something else. He reached into the box again, pulling out a folded piece of yellowed paper. This was found with the watch. It's a letter from Hank. The air was electric as he unfolded the paper. Words flowed out like a river of memories, echoing with emotions. This letter could hold the truth you've been searching for. It speaks of a pact, of love and lost things your brother may have kept from you. Pact? Alan questioned, stepping closer, his voice echoing with urgency. He struggled to keep his emotions at bay, but Sarah could see the flicker of vulnerability in his eyes. The collector nodded, then began to read aloud. The words wove a tale of sacrifice and regret, of promises made in the shadow of grief. Every line drew Sarah deeper into a labyrinth of confusion and heartache. Wait, she interjected, her voice trembling. What does this mean? Did he regret something? Was there something he never told us? The collector stopped mid-sentence, his eyes locking onto Sarah's, gauging her understanding. Sometimes the weight of a secret is heavier than grief itself. The desire to protect those we love can lead us down dark paths. Each letter bore the weight of revelation, turning their world on its head. The truth lay precariously close, as if it were a thread ready to snap. Well, what now? Jake whispered, uncertainty reflected in his eyes. With the heat of emotions swirling around them, Sarah realized that digging deeper into these revelations might lead not just to the past but to a different understanding of their family. And the answer to whether she was ready came clearer than ever. I need to know, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. What truly happened, and what did he want us to learn? As the collector paused, weighing the gravity of her question, Sarah knew that with every word spoken, they stood on the brink of a discovery that could change their lives forever. What stories lay buried deep in the heart of that letter? What was he truly hiding? The collector took a breath, exhaling slowly as if bracing himself for a plunge into cold water. He looked back at the letter, fingers trembling as they traced the delicate, frayed edges. Hank felt he was bound by something, a choice made in a moment of desperation. "It's all in here," he said, gesturing toward the paper like it was a portal to another world. "Enough with the build-up," Emily urged, her voice clipped. "What did he do?" "Your brother was part of something bigger than he realized," the collector replied, his eyes darting around the dim room, as if the shadows themselves were listening in. "He made a promise not just to protect his family, but to ensure that their past, the truth, would remain buried. He thought it would shield you from pain." "What were you talking about earlier, the pact?" Alan pressed, the tension in his voice now ringing like a struck bell. "Before I reveal more, I need you to understand," the collector said, looking each of them in the eye. "This isn't just a family heirloom. It represents a choice that had long-lasting repercussions." He pointed at the watch again, its polished surface glinting under the flickering light. "The moment it was handed down came at the cost of a sacrifice." Questions swirled in Sarah's mind like gusts of wind. She could feel the weight of her family's secrets pressing down on her chest. "What kind of sacrifice?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Love," he said simply. "Your brother was torn between two lives. The woman he loved had a past you never knew. She had ties that Hank believed could endanger all of you, should the truth come to light." The room was silent, the weight of words hanging thick in the air. Sarah's heart raced as she tried to process this new information. Who was she? Why did he never tell us? "Because he thought it would keep you safe," the collector replied, his gaze shifting to the letter again. "He hoped that the weight of that truth would die with him." Alan clenched his jaw, confusion mixed with frustration. "Why didn't he let us decide? We could face the truth together." The collector nodded, his expression softening. "That's the thing about secrets. They don't just burden the one who holds them, they sink into the fabric of the family. They create rifts, shadows where love once thrived." "Can we read it?" Emily asked suddenly, leaning forward, urgency in her voice. "If it's the key to understanding, we need to see what he truly thought." The collector hesitated, his fingers hovering over the page again. "It's not just a letter, it's a window into Hank's heart, a heart that was broken by too many promises." "Please," Sarah whispered, feeling the walls of her world begin to shift in the light of the truth. "We have to know." With a heavy sigh, the collector began to read again, his voice trembling slightly as he unfolded the emotional landscape contained within. Each word felt like a key, unlocking pieces of their past they never knew were chained away. As the story deepened, Sarah felt anew the rage and sorrow that had been locked inside her twisting into something sharper, more alive. They were on the brink of a truth that could unravel everything they thought they knew about their family. But as the collector neared the end of the letter, something in his expression changed. He glanced up, worry flashing across his face. "You must remember, some truths come with a cost, and this one might change everything, perhaps even your memories of him." With that, the weight in the air thickened, the kind of weight that foreshadows a storm. What truth could possibly force them to reevaluate everything? What cost would be too high to pay for unlocking the mysteries of their past? As the collector exhaled, the room held its collective breath. The air felt electric, heavy with anticipation. Sarah's heart raced, a wild drumbeat pulsing in her chest. Emily grabbed her arm, a tight squeeze that signaled they were in this together. The collector looked back down at the letter, his brow furrowed with a mixture of determination and apprehension. "Let me continue," he said, his voice steadier now. Hank's love for this woman, it changed him. It made him question everything, even his own morals. He was willing to sacrifice his freedom, his family's peace, to keep her past at bay. But in doing so, he tethered you to a lie. "What does that mean?" Alan asked, his voice strained. "Every promise he kept was like a lock on a door, one he never wanted to open. Hank thought if he hid everything well enough, one day the truth would vanish. But secrets are stubborn. They never stay buried. The collector paused, as if weighing the impact of each word. Sarah felt sick as the pieces started to fit her brother's distance, the way he avoided certain conversations. It had never truly made sense. What was her past? She managed, her voice cracking. It was a life woven with danger, he replied quietly, looking her squarely in the eyes. Her family was involved in something illegal. Hank couldn't risk what that exposure might mean for all of you. They all exchanged glances, unsure of how to categorize these revelations. The world outside felt distant, the usual sounds of the street muted, as if even the universe was pausing to listen. Emily's expression flickered between anger and disbelief. But why wouldn't he just tell us? She demanded. We could have made our own choices. Because love blinds you, and fear can dim even the brightest relationships, the collector said, his voice a soothing presence in the tumultuous storm brewing within them. He thought he was protecting you, even if it meant losing himself in the process. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, imagining the years of silence stretching between her and her brother. It felt like a canyon, dark and daunting. Why should we believe you? She asked, her voice sharper now. The collector leaned closer, resonating with sincerity. I don't expect you to. But Hank entrusted me with this information for a reason, and I'm here to share that burden. All you have to do is listen. He turned the letter toward them again, gingerly unfolding the last section. Each word carved in ink was heavy with emotion. This part is different. It's a confession, a final plea for understanding. An eerie stillness enveloped them as they focused on the collector's voice, enveloped in the pain of their brother's words. For the first time, they felt a flicker of hope mingled with despair. As the collector read aloud, Sarah envisioned the raw emotions: regret, fear, love translating into something tangible, a final chance to reconnect. Just as the collector finished the paragraph, a sudden noise sliced through the air. The door to the room creaked open, and a shadow stepped inside, casting an unexpected chill. You shouldn't have opened that letter, a voice rumbled, deep and menacing, filled with the weight of warnings unheeded. They all turned, hearts racing. The tension shifted palpably, like a sudden gust of wind before a storm. The collector froze, eyes wide, as the stranger's presence thickened the atmosphere with a sense of foreboding. You need to put it down now, the stranger warned, and it felt like a clock ticking down to the unknown. A shiver raced down Sarah's spine. What had they stumbled upon? What was the price of the truth that was now so violently reaching for them? The room felt smaller, the walls closing in like a noose. Sarah's heart was pounding, threatening to shatter her composure. Emily stepped slightly in front of her, a protective gesture that spoke volumes. Who are you? Emily demanded, her voice quivering, but steady enough to demand answers. The stranger took a step closer, and they could make out more of his features in the dim light. He had wild hair, eyes dark and stormy, filled with a flicker of something dangerous. I'm here to ensure this doesn't go any further, he said, glancing at the collector, who remained rigid in his seat. What do you want? Who sent you? Alan challenged, anger fueling his bravery. The stranger chuckled, a sound rough like gravel. It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is what you've just uncovered. He zeroed in on the letter, a snarl twisting his mouth. You have no idea what you've just unearthed. With a shaky breath, Sarah stepped forward, driven by an instinct to know, to understand what dark shadows loomed over their family. What does it matter? It's our family's story, the truth. We deserve to know. Deserve to know? His laughter was mocking, filled with disdain. Knowledge comes with a price, sweetheart. And trust me, it's one you're not prepared to pay. The collector finally spoke, his voice rising above the escalating tension. You need to leave. These people are not a part of this. They were never meant to be. The stranger's face soured. You think they can walk away clean? They won't just wipe this from their memories. It'll haunt them. He stepped forward, closer now, anger radiating off him like heat waves. You're too deep in it now. You think your brother's lies can shield you forever? Emily took a deep breath, the weight of fear settling heavily in her chest. So, you know Hank? Know him? The stranger smirked. He's tangled in a web you can't even fathom. And now you're caught in it too. The room seemed to narrow, the air thickening until every breath felt strained. What had Hank protected them from, and at what cost? The thought clawed at Sarah's mind. You're lying. He loved us. Her voice wavered, trying to fight against the despair threatening to engulf her. Love? Love doesn't shield you from the truth. Every lie just builds a darker future, he shot back, taking another step forward. You need to sever ties. This rabbit hole leads to darkness, and it's not too late to back out. The collector reached out, the urgency palpable in his movements. Listen to him, Sarah. There's a deeper threat here, but the stranger waved his hand dismissively. She won't listen to you. You've already opened that door. He pointed at the letter, and a chill ran through Sarah as she realized how tied they were to what lay on those pages. What do you know? Alan shouted, his voice echoing in the silence that followed. What are you so afraid of? The stranger drew back, a shadow passing over his features. What you'll learn will change everything. But it'll take down much more than you're ready to lose. In that moment, the door began to creak open wider, and it wasn't just the stranger's presence that stoked the fire of fear. The shapes of two more silhouettes appeared behind him, each one casting long shadows that loomed larger with each passing second. Nobody leaves until I know why you're curious, the stranger growled, tightening the tension with an iron grip. As fear twisted in her stomach, Sarah realized they were standing on a precipice. The truths tethered in that letter were about to expose more than just Hank's secrets. They threatened to unravel everything she held dear. What was waiting for them on the other side? And if they couldn't escape now, would they ever? The tension in the air felt like static, crackling and dangerous. Sarah's heart raced as the silhouettes loomed closer, each step echoing like thunder in the cramped space. She could hear her breath, the frantic inhales and shaky exhales as the unknown bore down on them. Get back! Emily shouted, positioning herself protectively in front of Sarah and Jake. But uncertainty filled the room, wrapping around them like a heavy fog. Tension sizzled as they all stood frozen, fear mingling with determination. The collector, his face a blend of worry and resolve, stepped toward the intruders. You've no business here. Let them go. Whatever you think you know. His voice was firm but desperate, a guardian trying to shield them against an unseen storm. Protecting them won't matter when the truth comes crashing down, the stranger sneered. Hank thought he could lock the past away, but it's all about to light up like a beacon. Sarah's mind whirled. The truth? How could Hank's choices tear apart the very foundation of their lives? What does that mean? She pressed, her voice trembling but steady. What were you discussing? What are you afraid we'll find? Finding out the truth means facing the consequences, the stranger shot back, his eyes narrowing as he gauged their responses. And you're naively putting yourselves in the crosshairs. Jake's voice broke through the chaos, charging the atmosphere with youthful bravery. Then tell us. Whatever it is we need to know. His determination sparked something new within Sarah. This wasn't just about a watch anymore, it was about the legacy Hank had left. You want to threaten us? Fine. But you can't keep us in the dark forever. The stranger hesitated, the fight momentarily dimming in his eyes. You think you're ready? To uncover what this piece of metal represents? You think you're ready for the storm that follows? Alan stepped forward, his voice unwavering. We're not leaving until we know what Hank kept from us. If he meant to protect us, then we deserve to decide what to do with that knowledge ourselves. The atmosphere flickered with a new energy. For the first time, the stranger looked less like a looming threat and more like a reluctant participant in their unfolding narrative. The shift invited an unexpected strength into the room. "Fine," he muttered, exhaling sharply. "But understand, once you have this knowledge you can't unhear it. You're diving into the depths of a hidden family history that isn't just about Hank, but about choices made long before you were born. It's tangled with ties that refuse to be severed." The room felt electric as the collector nodded, urging him on with silent encouragement. "Get on with it," he said, his trust in Sarah's strength shining through. "All right." The stranger's voice softened, pulling back the layers like peeling an onion. Hank's love had consequences. The woman he cherished had ties to a group that hurt people. Powerful people. Hank believed that keeping his testimony hidden would shield you all. Even if it meant burying parts of himself in the process. The weight of his confession settled like ash in the air. So, what he thought he was protecting us from was the truth about her, and about him. Sarah stammered, the pieces starting to click into place. This danger he was battling wasn't just external, it was a demon deep within. And at one remained dormant, the stranger warned, gaze fierce. "They're still out there, lurking, waiting to surface should you dig too deep." "What do you mean? Who are they?" Alan pressed again, anger brewing. "And how are you involved in it?" "Let us just say I'm someone who learned too late. I was pulled into it," he snapped, frustration dancing on the edge of his words. "And if you're standing here now, you'll need to understand they'll backpedal if your curiosity threatens their existence." A chill coursed through them, a mixture of dread and determination. The letter, the watch, it was more profound than a trinket. It was a legacy fraught with secrets and betrayal, each thread belonging to a larger tapestry of pain that could unravel at their feet. "Are you telling us to back off?" Jake challenged, the spark of defiance igniting his spirit. "We're not afraid of the truth. We deserve to know. All of it." "Bravery isn't the same as recklessness," the stranger replied, brushing knuckles against his temple as if trying to steady himself. "It's going to take more courage than you realize. This isn't just your family's past, it's a warning." The atmosphere thickened with unspoken truths, simmering slowly around them, each heartbeat synchronizing with the growing realization of what lay ahead. Sarah felt it surge, a raw determination, a fierce pride to reclaim Hank's honor. "Then we'll face it together," she declared, steeling her resolve. "Whatever comes next, we aren't backing down. Hank may have thought he was protecting us, but now it's our turn to reclaim our family's story." Turning as one, they faced the stranger, unified in their resolve. The unexpected bond woven from shared fears and love held fast against the storm brewing outside. "What do we need to do?" Sarah asked, her voice steady. One final gaze passed between them, the unease dissipating into an undeniable certainty. The stranger stepped back, a surprised smile creeping onto his face. "You've got guts. All right, let us see if it's enough. But whatever happens next, know the resolve you stand with now is the shield that won't falter against the tempest ahead." As the room settled into silence, another door opened, a path entwined with the past and a journey uncharted. The watch, the letter, it all pulsed with purpose, igniting a love that sought to bridge the gaps left behind. And as they began to piece together their family history, Sarah felt a surge of hope. Together they could rewrite their narrative, one filled with light instead of shadows, love louder than fear. "Let us find that truth," she whispered, a radiant smile slowly blooming across her face. Amid shadows, they stepped forward into the light, ready to confront what lay ahead and reclaim the legacy of their family. Now, dear friends, join me in this journey. You need to subscribe now to not miss our next thrilling chapter, because there's so much more to uncover. Leave a like now to boost our spirits and show your support, it truly helps more than you know. Comment below with your emotions and thoughts about this transformative journey. Let us build this community together. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this story. We're all in this together, friends, let us uncover the secrets as one.